Hi, welcome to the Fragrance Standard, where I bring you honest reviews on fragrance so you guys don't have to waste your money. And I've got a really interesting one today. I reached out to a few fragrance companies, in fact over 100, and only 2 responded positively. One was Bloom, which I visited the other day in London, and the other one was Zaharoff. And George Zaharoff actually wrote back to me personally. I asked the companies if they would like to support a new channel with some like 1ml samples, you know, anything that they had that I could review. And Zaharoff kindly sent me the entire sample collection, which we can see here. Absolutely amazing in beautiful packaging, kind of a leather bound wallet full of their catalogue. Really lovely. So thank you so much, Zaharoff. And I had actually reviewed a Zaharoff previously, which I really enjoyed, which was this one, Signature Royale. So you can go back and have a look at that. And I've been wearing that. I've worn that a few days. I absolutely love it. It's a great like everyday office scent for me, and you can tell it's quality. You know, it's got some complexity to it. I really enjoy it, and I'm fascinated to go through the entire list here. So I'm going to go through them quite quickly. I'm going to pick some of my favorites at the end, and then maybe in another video I will probably end up buying a couple of these and I'll do like a more complex review on them. I've actually got them all on tester strips and they've been sat there for 48 hours because I wanted to come back and smell them every hour or so and just sort of understand how they dried down so that I could give you a real feedback on these. Some of my favorites I've had on skin to see how they go on skin and let them dry down as well. And in fact 48 hours later that also gives us an idea on longevity. They're always going to stay on card or paper longer than they do on skin. That's just the nature of it because they're able to soak into that and stay there. But you can definitely get a feel for longevity based on how strong the fragrance still is on that. And I do this with quite a lot of fragrances. I just let them sit, see how they kind of mature, and all of the Zaharoff range have performed really well. So I already know these are quality ingredients with probably a high oil content. They still smell really strong 48 hours later. They've retained their entire complexity. Sometimes fragrances, you lose like 50% of the complexity. Some of the notes just disappear completely and you're left with something that sometimes can be a little unpleasant, or it's completely changed from the original after a long period of time. And these have retained all of their complexity and you can still pick out the notes. So really good. And let's go through them. All of these have a lot of notes in, as far as I'm aware. I haven't had a really hard study on the notes because I kind of want to bring you a realistic view of what I can smell, because I'm a guy with an amateur nose, so it will give you a good idea of maybe what you can smell as well, and then we can take a look at the notes quickly. But we'll just put some on a new strip there, have a smell in the air. And this is the Signature Pour Homme. So this is actually the kind of one in the Signature range that began it all, and obviously Signature Royale was one of the sidekicks from this one. Already quite a rich, elegant smell. I'm getting some spices, some lavender, and it smells masculine, it smells high-end, it smells quite wealthy. I'm getting a little ginger, some kind of sweetness. Maybe there's a fruit in the background. Hard for me to tell what it is. Maybe something like a sweet apple. And then I'm getting some spices, a little woodiness as well. A really well-rounded fragrance. This says to me, professional, put together guy, elegant. It's a really well-rounded masculine fragrance. It has a little floral as well, but certainly not overpowering, but I'm picking up something a little floral. So let's have a smell of the older strip. So this is 48 hours old. Now obviously a lot milder, but still clearly there. After about an hour or so it had smoothed off lost a bit of that kind of high-end spiciness. It had become a little bit more woody, a little bit more floral. But still really, really good. A gentleman's fragrance, and like I said, it's like that put together. I could wear this anywhere. I would wear this to the office, wherever. I could wear this daily. It's 100% a daily wear. I don't even think I would be worried about seasons, hot weather, cold weather. I would wear this literally anywhere. If we take a look at the notes to see if I got anywhere near, we've got fresh cardamom, lavender, black pepper, juicy pear, so that was the fruit I was picking up, black cypress, blue cypress, we've got ginger, we've got blonde cedar, so there's some of the wood there that I was picking up, temple oud. Now I didn't pick up oud, so that's interesting. That was probably part of the woodiness I was picking up, but there's definitely a depth to this and it projects really well, so I'm guessing the oud is there to give some nice projection and kind of that warmer, kind of deeper note. Florentine iris, pimento leaves, so that's that sort of heady, spicy vibe I was talking about. Fir balsam, so then again we're into the woody stuff. Creamy sandalwood, woods again, patchouli, which I picked up a little of that. Black amber, I didn't pick up any amber, but again that's probably giving it that kind of rounded and more of a backbone. Myrrh from China, which I didn't get, and frankincense, which I obviously did get. So yeah, there's a huge amount of quality notes, and I know from not just from Zaharoff themselves, but from hearing many knowledgeable people talk about Zaharoff, that they are well known for tracing down and finding really interesting exotic ingredients of high quality, making sure that they're sustainable and paid for properly. You know, they really do care about their fragrances, and that kind of shows because they were literally the only fragrance company that came back and helped me. So I think that's probably a pretty good sign that they are a really kind and ethical company to deal with. So next up we have Signature Noir. So it's from the Signature range again, so it should in theory share quite a lot of the notes that we've just been through, and it will be a take on that, but I've already learnt that some of these takes are dramatically different, and we'll give that a quick spray. Yeah, and already in the air I can tell that is dramatically different. So this to me is more herby, maybe a tiny little less spicy, and the sweetness is kind of tinged with a sort of darker edge. I think it's more of a citrus sweetness on this. I guessed apple on the last one, I think, and it turned out to be pear if I remember rightly, but this seems like a little bit of a sharper sweetness, so I'm going to go with a citrus, maybe a little bergamot. Still quite woody, it's still got that depth to it, so I'm going to guess that it also has oud in, because I think that's giving it that kind of woody depth, that base there. Noir is a good terminology for it. It is like the darker cousin of the Pour Homme that we just had a smell of, and let's have a quick smell of the 48-hour strip. Yeah, which is still there, and again it's obviously calmed down from what I've just smelt. For me this became a little bit more sweeter and woody as it dried down, and I absolutely love this one. I would wear this one again. I would wear this at any time, but I definitely think this is a good going out in the evening fragrance for sure. It may be one that I would avoid in really hot weather, but we don't really have that problem in the UK, so I can sort of say, yeah, I would wear this any time of year. If I was in a country where it was like 40 degrees in the summer and minus 20 in the winter, then I'd probably have a different opinion. But in the UK, I think I could get away with this. If we take a look at the notes, we've got basil, coriander, pink pepper, mandarin, bergamot. So I was right on the bergamot, I was right on the citrus, so it did have a sweetness that was more of a citrus twist. Basil's giving it a little bit more of a herby vibe. We've got ginger again, blonde cedar, anise going towards that spiciness, cypress, freesia, which I'm not actually sure what freesia smells like. I'm guessing it's a little bit more of a floral, which I was picking up on the dry down. Fir balsam, which was already in there previously. Sandalwood, tonka, olibanum, frankincense, oud, and myrrh. So quite similar in terms of some of the notes, but as we saw, it's a very, very different fragrance. One I would say was more like a classic gentleman's fragrance, the standard Pour Homme, and this is definitely more of a twist on that. You know, it's got a bit of its own slightly darker personality to it. For me, the Pour Homme is kind of a blind buy safe fragrance for a regular guy, and this one, I think you would have to put your nose on it. I absolutely love it because this kind of twist is right up my street, but I would definitely suggest that you get some samples off Zaharoff and see what you think. Next up, we've got Signature Royale, which again is part of the Signature range. A few of these will be in that range that we do to begin with. I'll give this a spray. Yeah, and this is obviously the one that I've reviewed previously, which I've really enjoyed. That's an everyday wearer for me. I'm picking up cardamom, apple, suede, lavender, patchouli, some spices. It's again a very gentlemanly fragrance, but leaning more towards the spicy side for me. This is kind of bringing in maybe a little bit more of a Middle Eastern touch on the spices, which I absolutely love. You know, that's my vibe. I love Middle Eastern fragrances. The two sorts of fragrances I really enjoy are like a quintessential men's elegant fragrance, like a gentleman's fragrance, and I really like Middle Eastern fragrances. So for me, these are the two combined, and that's probably why this was suggested to me, and I ended up doing a blind buy on it because someone was sure that I would love it, which I do. And we check the 48-hour strip, which has lost maybe some of the cardamom. That's kind of dulled down slightly. Overall, it's retained its character. I was smelling this like every hour. It didn't change too much during the dry down, which I actually like. You know, some scents change a lot and people praise that. But if I really like a scent to begin with, I don't want it to change so much in the dry down that it's completely different to what I actually purchased to begin with. I enjoy, you know, some changes, and we've had a little bit of change here. It's become a little bit more depth to it, you know, a bit more bassy, but other than that, it retains its personality. And just to check the notes on that, we've got fresh cardamom, citrus blend, Himalayan juniper, apple, lavender, pimento leaves, magnolia, sandalwood, gold patchouli, oud, suede and cashmere, wood blend, cedar wood, amber, musk and vanilla, which brings out the suede accord. So I've got that suedey feeling. It does that really well. I can definitely pick that up. It's, you know, different to leather. You can smell suede has a slightly smoother, softer touch to it. Leather can be quite abrasive sometimes. You know, it really sets the scene if it's strong in a fragrance, whereas suede can kind of sit in the background and bring a bit of backbone to it without really massively changing things. You know, it blends really well if you ask me. This is a great fragrance. I don't regret buying a full bottle of this at all. Now we have ROYALE X. So again, from the Signature line, I'll give that a spray. And I happen to know that this one is pretty musk heavy, because I did see when I bought the Royal, I also looked at the ROYALE X, and the ROYALE X was basically a musk heavy version, which indeed it is. It's got a bit more earthiness to it. It's definitely got some musk in there. It smells kind of a bit more dirty. It's like the Royal with a bit of a kind of rebellious backbone to it. And maybe instead of suede, this is verging a bit more on the stronger side. So it's not quite a strong leather, I would say, but it's not as mild a suede that was in the standard Royal. With these two, I think it would be worth picking the one that you like. You know, I wouldn't buy both of these because they're fairly similar. They go in slightly different directions. So I would definitely have a smell of both of them, and then I would just pick the one I wanted. Unless you're a collector and you just want to collect the whole series, of course. And with Zaharoff, they really look after you. So if you want to test these, you know, you can buy tester sizes off them, the small sizes. You can buy a pack like this, and they're actually at a really good price. I'll give some links at the bottom. I think Luxe Parfum in the UK sells Zaharoff, and I'll just put a link up to the Zaharoff site if you're outside the UK as well. And you could buy a pack like this. I think it was about 90 something pounds, and then you can basically choose whichever ones you want. But yeah, I love that as well. I would definitely wear that. I probably wouldn't buy it because I've already got the Royal, but if I didn't have the Royal, I actually think I would probably be drawn to the X, just because it's got that slightly rebellious kind of side to it, a little bit more earthy. So the main changes there is we've got leather, which is a vetiver rock rose benzoin resin combination to bring that kind of more leather smell. And like I said, it's not like a hardcore leather smell, it's still quite relaxed, but it's definitely more noticeable than the suede. And then we've got musk as well, so that's kind of giving us that I wouldn't go as far as to say animalic, it's slightly animalic, but it just gives it that slightly rebellious factor. Then we have Signature ROYALE XXX. We just had the X, now we've got the XXX. Give that a blast on the strip, missed a bit there. Okay, so that's a lot stronger, a lot more musky to me. It's definitely a punchier fragrance for sure, making more of a statement. You know, if you're someone, I would say like the Royal is kind of a really good business in the background. People will notice it, it projects well. They will know that you've got something quality on, but it kind of pleases pretty much everyone. You know, it's a very generally pleasing fragrance. Whereas as we start to get to the X and the XXX, now we're getting into slightly more polarizing territory because it's got some stronger vibes to it. I like it, I really like it, because I'm into my ouds and I'm into my stronger smelling fragrances, so this is right up my street. So far I would probably pick this one over and above the others just because it's a little more punchy, it's got a bit more depth to it. If we have a smell of the 48-hour strip, now that really is a lot more animalic. I can smell a little animalic on there, almost grassy, like an animal that's been kind of rolling around in the grass, which I know sounds not that pleasant, but actually in combination with the other factors it does produce a really pleasing smell, but you can pick that out. So yeah, that's what's giving it its kind of dirty baseline, if you like, which I really enjoy. That's right up my street. I would pick this one over and above the others so far, or I would probably buy the Pour Homme as a kind of basic everyday standard wear, something I could put on in the office. And then for nights out so far it would be the XXX. I'm guessing that one is just a slight change in the ingredient amounts, maybe in the oil content. I can't really smell anything massively different. I would imagine it's got more musk, maybe more oud, maybe a slightly more animalic oud in there. And let's have a look. We go down, we've got bergamot, citrus blend, lavender, cardamom, Himalayan juniper, pimento berry, cedar leaf. So slightly different ingredients on a couple of them, but around the same sort of accords. Sandalwood, gold patchouli, oud, leather, which is a vetiver rock rose benzoin resin again, and the musk. So I would imagine they've gone maybe heavier on the oud and musk in this one, but yeah, so far that's the one I would go for. And now, stepping things up a little further, we have the ROYALE XXXL. So the baddest boy on the block in the Signature ROYALE series. And now we're getting really deep and musky, and I'm almost picking up like a hint of alcohol there. It's almost got like a kind of hard-edged whiskey, and I think that's just because it is so musky. And for me now, that's moving into almost a different fragrance altogether. So obviously it has some shared DNA, but where it's gone a lot more musky, a lot more animalic, I'm guessing when I smell that 48-hour strip, we'll probably pick up a lot of the really sort of deep animalic qualities there. You're starting to lose track with your nose of some of the other ingredients, so it starts to feel almost like a different fragrance. Again, I really like it. I love these kind of powerful, dark, heavy duty fragrances, and this might be where I would consider buying the two, you know, that I would consider, or maybe even three, that I would consider the XXX, which I really liked. I would consider this. It's almost different enough to the XXX to make it worth it. Let's have a smell of the 48-hour strip. And actually not as animalic as I thought. So although on the first smell it did smell a lot stronger, on the 48-hour strip it's calmed down a hell of a lot. It's lost some of that earthiness. So for me, the XXX had kind of more of that barnyardy vibe than this one does. This one is musky, but it's become quite sedate. And we do have some note changes here if I have a look. So we've got cardamom, which has I think been present in all of them, pimento, which has been present, apple, which has returned here, lavender, cumin, magnolia. So it's got a little bit of that flowery note, which I felt like I picked up in the 48-hour strip. Like I said, it had calmed down a lot and it had become a little softer and I think a little more floral. This returns to the suede, so that's where I said it was probably getting softer. You're missing out on those leathery tones that we had before. We've got costus, cashmere woods, vetiver, which I didn't pick up, maybe I should have picked that up, sandalwood and musk. And we haven't got oud in this one. So again, when I said in the 48-hour strip I wasn't picking up that kind of barnyardy vibe, it's probably because the oud is out of this one. But this one is stronger to start out with, so the musk must be pretty present. I'm guessing the musk and vetiver together are giving quite a strong blast to begin with, and that's definitely what you pick up, you know, that it's a stronger smell overall, it's a muskier smell overall, but it seems to dry down into something a little less animalic and a little less musky, maybe slightly more floral. Now we move away from the Royal series, and we're still with the Signature, but this one is Signature Rose. Now I like rose in some oud scents I've got. I'm not like a big rose guy when it's like leading with rose. And this is definitely rose forward. But I'm picking up some oud. It's definitely got a rose oud vibe, which is pleasing to me. I like that combination. Some spiciness in the background. It has a kind of Turkish delight feel for it. Quite sweet. So it's like a blend of oud, Turkish delight, you know, the jellies that you get with the kind of sugar coating, and it's definitely got a sugary scent to it as well. This is quite sweet. If this was me, I would not wear this on its own. It's a little bit too sweet and a little bit too flowery for me. I prefer things the other way around, where it's kind of leading with oud with the rose in the background. But I tell you what I would do with this, and some of these scents I definitely want to experiment with. I would 100% blend this with something else. So I think this could go really well with several of the other scents in this package and give you that kind of rose in the background. I would actually like to try this with the Tabac and maybe the leather Tabac as well. Let's give it a go, just out of curiosity. So yeah, as it dries down, I should say what it dries down like first, shouldn't I? So we've got the rose here, 48 hours later. And I did smell this while it was drying down. So it's probably, this is probably the hardest to smell 48 hours later. It hasn't hung around as much as some of the others, but I can get a whiff in the background. It's slightly more woody to me as it dried down. It lost a little bit of that rose forward. It was still rose forward, but it had a little bit more woodiness as it dried down. Again, it was still too much rose for me. I would like it blended with something else. Let's have a spray with Tabac and just make a combination. Kind of bastardizing Mr. Zaharoff's scent here, but now that's definitely me. So I would wear 100%. I would wear that. The rose with the Tabac is a great combination, and that's a great combo. You know, if you like tobacco, I would think it probably worked well with leather as well. In fact, let's try it. I'm getting overexcited now. So we'll just have we've got a leather Tabac. We can try that with the rose. So here's our leather Tabac. Here's our rose.
Nice.
Quite nice. I would wear it, but my favourite is actually the rose and Tabac. I think that is a great fragrance. So I would definitely buy those two and wear them together. I think that will actually dry down really nicely. I know when the leather Tabac dries down, the leather becomes a little less pronounced, and it's kind of taking over at the moment, the leather. But already it's starting to mellow out. Yeah, that's becoming good as well. I would wear either of those. So that rose is a great purchase. I would buy that just to mix in with other things, because it gives it a really nice floral background, and you'll be wearing something that probably nobody else is wearing. It's worth buying one of these kits just to have a kind of experiment yourself. You can be a amateur perfumer. So let's see what we had in the rose. There was Turkish rose, Rose Otto. Interesting that I got that Turkish Delight kind of feel to it. I don't think maybe Turkish Rose has anything to do with Turkish Delight, but if we look further down, we've got Gold Amber, Jasmine, Red Peony, Sandalwood, Vanilla. So I was picking up some vanilla. Oud, which I mentioned I thought I could kind of get a little bit of in the background. It wasn't oud forward by any means. Sugarcane, so that's probably what I was getting, was the combination of the rose with the sugarcane was giving me that Turkish Delight feel. And then we had myrrh and frankincense. So great fragrances for me, something to blend with the others, and I will definitely be experimenting with that. Now this was one of the ones I really liked. Have a spray of this because it wasn't quite as sweet and it wasn't quite as rose forward. And like I said, I'm not a rose forward kind of sweet smelling guy. I like things a little bit darker. Getting some oud, musk, maybe a little vetiver. It's definitely a darker scent. It's almost I'm getting some of the notes from the Noir coming through here. It's a great combination of the two, but this is right up my street. This is a dark, mysterious rose. This is not a floral kind of pleasant smelling Person Next Door. This is more dark and smoky nightclub kind of rose, you know. Yeah, really good, really good. And let's smell the 48-hour strip. So that's lasted a lot better, probably because it's got a little more oud in there. The oud smells a little bit more animalic. It's got some musk, so those bassy notes are going to kind of keep things hanging around a lot longer, whereas the other one is much lighter, much more floral. Yeah, still great. It's lost a little bit of the animalic after 48 hours, and I had again smelled this one during its dry down, and I think it's more animalic in the opening than it does as it dries down. So that will please people, because not everyone likes that kind of vibe. So if you're worried about that, I would definitely put it on your skin, leave it for an hour, because you want to buy a fragrance based on the dry down. You know, that's going to be your like 9 hours experience of that fragrance. The first 30 minutes is not really what you want to make your purchase based on. So that tends to be what people actually utilize in shops. You know, they go in, they smell something off a strip, and they go yes or no based on that. I always spray it on my skin, look for it. You know, I use the strips just to find kind of a ballpark that I like. Then I spray it on my skin when I find the thing I think I really like. and then I go off, have a wander for an hour or so and keep smelling it on my skin, and then I buy that based on the dry down. Or like I did with this Zaharoff, I just buy it like a crazy person and take a massive risk. But yeah, I would buy that black rose all day long. Really, really, really nice. So let's have a look at the notes. We had some black pepper, basil, bergamot, Turkish rose, black rose, cashmere blend, cedarwood, musk amber, tonka, cypriol, frankincense, oud, labdanum, musk and vetiver. So I picked up the musk and vetiver, definitely picked up the oud. It retained a lot of the kind of smells that I felt in the Noir, which was that kind of dark, mysterious, musky, woody smell. So that all makes sense to me. I'm not good enough to pick every single one of those out. I would be very surprised if anyone could do that unless they were actually a serious perfumer. But yeah, a really, really good one. That's in my like top list so far for sure. So now we're getting into slightly different territory. We've got Tabac, which I just blended with the rose and made an awesome fragrance. I'm going to wear that later. It smells amazing. And then this is just Tabac on its own. But actually I'm surprised by this. I thought I wouldn't like it because I've smelt some very sort of simplistic tobacco fragrances before and not been a fan. But this is more complex than tobacco. I'm also getting different types of tobacco here. I'm picking up like a wet green tobacco. I'm picking up like a dry pipe tobacco. I'm picking up the slight smokiness of someone, you know, a room that someone smoked a really good quality tobacco pipe in, and you get that kind of waft, that pleasant waft. It's definitely more high quality tobacco pipe than it is cigarettes. You know, that's where I don't particularly like tobacco flavours, when they're kind of ashy, cigarette like. This has some fruitiness to it. Hard to kind of say, but there's definitely a sweetness, a fruitiness to it, so it's like a sweet tobacco. Yeah, I actually really like that. And if we have a smell of the 48 hour, yeah, so that's still really strong on there, which is kind of what I would expect from a fragrance like this. It's not overpowering, you know. I've smelt the Amouage tobacco, which is kind of beast mode. You know, you can go in a room with that and you can, if people didn't like tobacco, man, you would upset some people. But this is a little bit more relaxed than that. I don't think it's going to particularly upset anyone. I mean, it's noticeably tobacco. It's got some spiciness to it as well. Now it's coming through slightly boozy, so I'm picking up like a booziness and a little incense too. So I'm getting like a sweet fruit. I'm getting multiple different types of tobacco, verging from like smoky to wet tobacco to high quality pipe tobacco. Then I'm getting some incensey stuff going on, maybe some frankincense in there, maybe even a little oud in there, and a slight woodiness. It almost reminds me of places where tobacco might grow, and some of the kind of scents coming through from the surrounding woodland or whatever. But yeah, now it's leaning fairly incensey, so it's taken on a different smell. It really led with strong tobacco to start with, like I said, multiple types of tobacco, but now it's definitely moving towards a more incense based smell. It's great. I would wear that all day long, and I'm definitely going to be wearing it with the rose. Let's have a look at the notes, see if I got anywhere near. So top notes, interesting, cognac. So I mentioned I could almost get a bit of booziness coming through there. Lavender, I'm surprised I didn't pick that up. Rum, star anise, Divana, not entirely sure what Divana is. Gold honey, so there's the sweetness I'm guessing. Blonde cedar, the woods. Tempelude, so yeah, that Tempelude, I said there was some incensey vibe, maybe verging on oud. We've got tobacco leaf, so that's going to give you maybe those green leaves. Pimento leaf, fir balsam, again moving over to the woods. We've got sandalwood, plum, so there's the other kind of fruity sweetness in the background. myrrh, frankincense, which I mentioned, I think there was a little bit of that in there, moving towards that slightly kind of Middle Eastern incensey vibe, tonka bean and vanilla. Now I see vanilla mentioned, I definitely should have picked up on that, that was fairly obvious. But yeah, that's way more complex than the tobacco. That was really beautiful. Love it with the rose as well. So this is definitely one that I would add to my list of purchases. I will probably run them out in here, and then what I really end up using and liking, I will no doubt go out and buy bottles of. Next we got leather, Tabac, which is quite leather forward. It's the sort of leather I would imagine if you were someone who was making like saddles for horses, you know, really good quality, like hardcore, hard wearing leather. It smells incredibly natural. So let's have a smell of the 48 hour. And here I'm picking up a little bit more on the herby side, some woods. Again, a background sweetness. I get a feeling maybe the plum from the Tabac that we just smelt. A little bit more peppery and a little bit more incensey. And it's lasted really well. So far, that's probably the strongest on the 48 hour strips. Yeah, and now I'm starting to get this other stuff coming through. So that's the importance of just waiting, letting things dry off a little. It was very, very heavy on the leather to start with. It almost drowned out the Tabac completely. But now it's becoming more balanced. You know, it's definitely that really high quality leather. I can imagine like sitting on a high quality leather saddle on a horse, smoking a pipe, riding through like a Middle Eastern bazaar almost, you know, the idea of those three things together. And now, yeah, you're getting some more of that spiciness coming through, more of that incense, a little bit of a oudi background. Really good, really good. So let's have a look at the notes here. We have rosemary, sage, black pepper, star anise and plum. So it did have some plum in it, which I thought it probably did, giving it that sweetness. Birch tar, cumin seeds, rose otto, which is a Bulgarian rose valley. So interesting that this has got some rose in it. It just doesn't smell as heavy duty as when I added the rose, but there is some in the background there. Myrrh, tobacco, obviously, suede accord, leather accord, so it has a suede accord too. Honey, oud, praline and frankincense. Praline is an interesting one. I didn't pick that up. Yeah, maybe it is there in that sort of woody, nutty background kind of vibe, sweet nutty kind of smell. Yeah, a great scent. Out of the two, I think I would go with the Tabac. I actually really like that, way more than I thought. I normally like leather Tabac. I just prefer the Tabac out of these two. I would wear either of them. To me, these are probably like pick one or the other. I wouldn't probably buy a full bottle of each. So I personally would buy the Tabac just because I really liked it. So now we're on to CITRINE. Give that a spray. Yeah, way more citrus based. This is what I would call a freshie. Kind of that just got out of the shower vibe. Definite summer type of scent. Giving me that fresh, you know, splash on some cologne. Really clean smelling. Now I'm starting to pick up some orange, very citrusy, a little floral, a little sweet, maybe some sweet fruit in the background, also some incense there as well. A lot of these seem to have frankincense and myrrh in. I'm picking up some frankincense. Yeah, and as it begins to calm down a little bit, it's getting even more so that you can pick up the incense. More on the florals, more on like almost a like a sweet dried fruit, like maybe raisins or something like that. Let's have go on the 48 hour strip. So that's actually a little bit more woody. The high end of the citrus has calmed down quite a lot. It's become more woody, slightly more incensey, but it's still got that fresh vibe to it. Very nice indeed. You know, this is something I would probably put on if I was going out to the gym, you know, if I was going on a gym date or something like that. This would be great. If I was going to the beach, definitely for me a hot weather fragrance. Very, very refreshing. Let's take a look at the notes. So we've got willow leaf, mandarin orange, sweet orange, sweet fennel, red currant. So maybe that's where I was picking up the raisins from. Cardamom, Arabian jasmine. So I said it had some sort of floral background, a sweet floral background. Clementine, so we're going down the orange route again. Pink pepper, fig wood. Maybe that was also giving us that kind of sweet, fruity feel too. Corsican cistus, sambac, purple plum. Again, going back to that sweet fruit. Gold patchouli, I should have picked up on that. Oud, I did not pick up on. White moss and musk, frankincense and myrrh. So obviously I was good on the frankincense myrrh. That seems to be pretty much the backbone of these, which is great because I actually love those, and it gives each of them a slightly Middle Eastern kind of feel. But yeah, really, really nice fresh fragrance. If you want something that's citrusy, fresh, summery, I 100% would check that out. Next up we have CoCoLoCo. Nice purple colour. Again, that's a real freshie, pineapple heavy. Almost reminds me of pineapple cubes along with like some, almost a fresh mint. Very, very fresh smelling. Got some citrus there as well in the background. That might be lending to that minty vibe. It's just that citrus edge to the pineapple. There's some coconut, which is obviously where the name comes from. As it starts to dry off a little, I'm picking up coconut there. Really nice sweet coconut. This reminds me of really nice cocktails, you know, in a kind of exotic bar on a beach somewhere. It's sweet, coconutty, spicy, not too woodsy, and I don't think it's oody. It's just a very, very refreshing cocktail like scent. Absolutely ideal if you're going out in the summer for a kind of day out somewhere that's hot, a theme park or something like that. This would smell awesome. And coming through with a bit more of that citrus now. Let's have a go on the 48 hour. So now we've lost some of that citrusy note and it's dried down much more to a coconut, like a creamy coconut vibe. Still got some of that Middle Eastern vibe in the background. Yeah, not the strongest of all the strips, but I mean, remember, this is 48 hours and they had all lasted on the strips like easily 12 hours because I'd smelled them several times on those strips. Yeah, still an exotic, fresh, beach holiday kind of feeling. So let's have a look, see what was in there. We've got fresh cardamom, red clementine, that was giving us the citrus. Juicy pear, I didn't get that. Pineapple, it's obviously pineapple, like you would struggle not to smell pineapple. Coconut flesh, which, yeah, that's correct. And interesting it says flesh because it definitely gives that really fresh, creamy coconut kind of vibe. Blonde cedar, so it has got a bit of woods in there. Pimento leaves, neroli petals, star jasmine, so that's giving us that spicy Middle Eastern background, but that's very laid back, I would say. It's definitely a coconut, pineapple, citrus leading kind of fragrance. We've got benzoin tears, tonka bean, heliotrope, vanilla, yeah, that makes perfect sense, and white musk in the background, which I think you can probably smell quite a lot of that white musk in the dry down as well, certainly in the 48 hour strip. I should have said musk because there was something kind of there. It wasn't quite oody, but there was definitely something keeping the smell going, which musk certainly will. Yeah, a beautiful smell. I would wear this in the summer. Probably not a winter fragrance for me. I'm not generally a freshy guy unless it's exceedingly hot outside. When I go clay pigeon shooting, I'd probably wear this just because on those really hot summer's days when you're working up a sweat, you know, it's good to smell something that's kind of pleasing, that's not putting other people off and wafting around when you're competitively shooting. So I might even try that, see how it goes. But yeah, beautiful fragrance. I haven't disliked any of these. You know, there's none of them that I would not be happy with if they were gifted to me, and there's multiple here that I would just buy myself straight out. So now we're going with something called Bloom, which I have no idea what this is. I've obviously had a couple of smells of it, but I haven't attempted to kind of work it out yet. So I'm getting coconut again, but this time it's a little more, it's not quite as, it's not like a happy beach coconut that I got last time. Got kind of a spicier, darker take. There's some florals in there, which I'm guessing why it's called Bloom. Smell like white florals to me. There's some sweetness there for sure, some sugary notes, maybe some vanilla. I'm picking up some fruity sweetness in the background, and the spices, incense is there. We smell the 48-hour strip. So that's become a lot more floral. Getting that kind of white flowers note. Incense in the background. There's a sweetness still. It's lost maybe some of that very noticeable coconut. There was slight citrus in the fresh one, which has kind of dissipated now, and it's become a lot creamier, a lot basier. Let's have a look, see what we had. So we got gardenia, coconut, which we guessed, jasmine, which we're going towards the florals, amber, which I didn't get. I hardly ever smell amber. I'm just not very good at picking it out, I think. Arabian jasmine, Egyptian jasmine, so they're the floral parts. Orange blossom. So I mentioned I thought I could maybe pick up something citrusy, but it was very, very background. Red peony, and then we've got sandalwood, sustainable vanilla bourbon, which I picked up the vanilla. We got some oud in there, which I didn't get. Some sugar cane, I definitely got the sweetness of sugar. White jasmine, which I mentioned I had that sort of floral white flower smell. Again, ylang ylang, which is that going over to that white flower smell. Myrrh and olibanum tears. So missing out on the frankincense this time, but yeah, it's that coconut, floral, slightly Middle Eastern, spicy kind of vibe. Out of the two, I would probably go with the CoCoLoCo. I just liked it was a little more fun. This is kind of a darker version, which I don't think really would suit my personality. I like the fun coconutty thing. I really love the smell of coconut anyway. You know, even if I put a coconut cream on, you know, the body butter ones, I absolutely love those. So that was definitely more my vibe. This one is great, but I would have a smell of the two, and this is probably two that I would pick one or the other. My take would be CoCoLoCo. I mean, if I had the chance, I would probably buy every single one of these because they're all really good. That's just not realistic. Now on to BYZÄÄN. Make sure I got that right. Yeah, BYZÄÄN. Give that a blast. Wow, really like that one. So I'm getting a little bit of pineapple, woody, again spicy, slightly Middle Eastern backbone, some florals in there, a definite sweetness, like a sugary sweetness, and then almost an earthiness in the background as well. Let's have a quick smell of the 48-hour. Yeah, so that earthiness is coming through more. So I wonder if that's a moss. It's almost like a kind of moss that's drying out type of smell, but there's a sweetness to it as well. Still picking up the florals. A little bit of the pineapple, though it's lost its edge. You know, it's not as hard edged as it was when I first sprayed it. A bit more creamy, basically. Yeah, and the pineapple's already calming down. Now it's a much more rounded kind of fragrance. The top notes are calming down a little bit. Beautiful. I really, really like that. To me, that's a daily wearer. I could wear that anywhere. I don't even think it's that seasonal. I could wear it in the winter, summer, whatever. It's. I think there's enough in it that in the summer it would be the kind of pineapple and stuff that you were leaning towards, and then in the winter there's enough of a spiciness to it, enough of a kind of Middle Eastern backbone that you would lean towards that in terms of what you picked up with your nose. It's quite a warming fragrance, but also that pineapple is quite a fresh fragrance too, and it really hung around on the strip, so it lasts well. Let's have a look at the notes, see if I was anywhere near. So we had juicy clementine. I didn't really pick up the citrus. Anjou pear, which there's definitely some sweetness and some fruity sweetness there. Peach, interesting. Pineapple, obviously I got. Rose essence, peony, so we're going with some florals. Rose centifolia, absolute. Freesia, candy floss, so that's probably that very high level sweetness that I picked up, but it's nicely balanced out. You know, it's not ridiculously sweet, it's not cloying, it's balanced with other things, it's balanced with the more Middle Eastern side of the fragrance. So we've got sandalwood, sustainable bourbon vanilla, musk, patchouli, moss and amber. So moss was definitely something I picked out there. I said it had that sort of earthy, mossy vibe at the end of it, and especially on the dry down in the 48-hour strip, you could really smell it hanging around at the end. And it's probably those stronger notes like that that are going to hang around on the strip after 48 hours. But just gives you some idea of the longevity and the fact it hasn't massively changed. I can still pick out the fragrance after 48 hours. But yeah, another good one I would happily wear. I mean, I'm actually surprised. I'm under no responsibility to love every single one of these. As I said, there's a couple that I personally wouldn't wear on their own, so I wouldn't wear the rose on its own. Overall, you know, most of these I would wear. Even the leather Tabac I would wear. It's just I would prefer to wear the Tabac. But it's a really good range. You know, the guy clearly knows what he's doing. That's why he's a legend in the industry. So I shouldn't be that surprised that the fragrances he's releasing are really, really good. So now we have one called AURUM, A-U-R-U-M. It's a sweet, nutty vanilla, kind of like, you know, it could be a cake. There's definite sugars there. Picking up nuts. I'm not sure if it's like walnuts. It kind of reminds me of a carrot cake, you know, where they have some like bits of walnut on it and it's got that kind of sweetness to it. I'm not picking up carrot, mind you, but just a very, very nutty, vanilla-y gourmand. This would be something I wouldn't buy because I don't like gourmands. I like to smell them. This is something I would like happily spray on my pillow, but I just don't want to smell like a cake myself. Some people love that. I'm not into really smelling any gourmands unless they're boozy. I quite like a boozy gourmand, you know. I don't mind smelling like a cocktail because that's got a little bit of mystery to it. On the 48-hour strip, yeah, still pretty strong, sugary, nutty, vanilla. Yeah, it's good if you like gourmands. So checking the notes there, we've got honeycomb, clove bud, didn't pick up that, cinnamon bark, yeah, I can kind of get there's some cinnamon in there, walnut, so we went nutty, creamy coconut milk, almond, again nutty, fresh hazelnut, nutty, so yeah, I was picking up a lot of nuttiness, and I definitely picked up on a creamy nuttiness, like a cakey nuttiness in there, so the coconut is probably helping with that, the creamy coconut milk. Vanilla infusions, we've got vanilla, tonka bean, praline, amber accord. So yeah, this does come across, you know, like a gourmand. It reads like a cake making list, and some people absolutely love that. Not my bag, but great job. You know, it's made me hungry. I definitely want to go and eat something naughty now, which I'll avoid because I'm on a diet, but definitely did the job of making me hungry. Next up we have Seraphim Blue. So now I think we're getting into some marine type fragrance. Yeah, much more aquatic based, very, very fresh smelling. I'm getting some lavender, rosemary, definitely some marine smells off there, but it opens very, very fresh indeed. Really, really nice if you like a aquatic, marine It's got a slightly salty vibe to it. It's also quite soft. There's like a creaminess to it as well. Getting some orange citrus notes. Yeah, it's very complex, really, really good. There's some floral in there too, not quite sure what it is, but I'm picking up some floral, definitely picking up some citrus. There's a creaminess in the background. Yeah, really, really good. Maybe a little bit of musk coming through. Let's smell the original strip that I sprayed. And like I said, I've smelt all these, you know, a couple of 3 times as they were drying down. Yeah, that's a little more musky. And it's slightly more marine smelling now as well, but in the nicest possible way. It reminds me of a really, really sort of nice day on the beach. You know, that's what it conjures up in my mind. Sunshine, beach, clean skin. Yeah, really, really good. Thoroughly recommend this one. I would wear this one. Obviously, it's leaning more towards the summer wear, hot days. Beautiful freshy. I kind of thought it would be, being as it was blue, but it's got that clean beach vibe to it. And let's see how we got on the notes. So we've got apple, I didn't pick that up, lavender, which I got, rosemary I think I got, eucalyptus, I did not pick that up, blue cypress, didn't get that. I did get some florals, immortelle, iris, yeah, florals, coconut. Now that might have been giving us that creaminess in the background that I was talking about. It's definitely a creamy vibe to this one. Orange flower, so that's maybe where we're getting some of the citrus vibes from. Marine notes, yeah, we got those definitely. Cistus, red seaweed, amber and musk. So the seaweed obviously and the marine notes are giving us that aquatic marine feel, and it definitely feels to me, you know, there's some freshies that are like clean water freshies, you know, they're almost like a swimming pool freshy and very kind of surgical, which there's a place for those. I'm not a huge fan, but people like those, and they generally are quite crowd-pleasing fragrances. Whereas this one is more natural smelling, you know, it definitely lends itself more towards a really nice day at the beach, and you've just kind of had a shower and cleaned off. Maybe you're using those showers on the beach. You've got some really nice product on your skin, a combination of that and some kind of coconutty cream and suntan lotion and beach vibes, all ties together, you know, some floral sort of stuff wafting across on the breeze. Really, it conjures up a beautiful day. I love this. I would love it for a sunny day out. Highly recommend. Now we're on to Seraphim Red, and interestingly this was one of my favourites, one of my top 3 probably. I really like this one, and my wife picked up this one out of all of them. She had a smell of all the different fragrances here, and this was the one she said, wow, you know, you've got to get this, it smells amazing. So it has her vote of confidence. Seraphim Red, yeah, and it's a great fragrance. I think it's supposed to be the kind of slightly darker older brother of Seraphim Blue, but it's distinctly different smell. You know, I wouldn't even pick up necessarily that they were the same DNA. Maybe there's still that kind of clean skin, soapy vibe, sort of freshy in the background, but this one leans a lot darker. It's more of a kind of mysterious nighttime wear type fragrance. It's a very sexy fragrance. I think that's, you know, the thing my wife liked about it. It had that kind of sexy evening, dark, smouldering kind of vibe to it. It's very strong as well. This was one of the ones that on these 48-hour strips, it really stayed on there. You know, you didn't have to struggle to smell it at all. Yeah, and it dries down. It loses some of the kind of high notes that you first get. I do think what it's got in common is like that fresh vibe. So I'm going to say, was it eucalyptus before in the Seraphim Blue? I'm going to say that it's got that in common, because I think that was giving the sort of fresh, soapy type of feel to it. Again, this has got that mineral, marine, salty kind of smell, but it's much more towards the kind of oriental woody. I'm still getting a little floral, but not as much maybe. And I'm getting more piney, woody through on this one. And then there's some kind of more sensual stuff going on, which may be vetiver. It kind of slightly giving me a Tom Ford sort of feel to it as well. So I think it might be vetiver, if I had to have a guess, but for sure, this is one of my favourites. This would absolutely kill it if you were wearing it out on a date. You would smell amazing. To be frank, I would wear this anywhere. I just think it's absolutely awesome. It may even be my #1 fragrance. I'm not sure. It's out of this and probably one of the ones we got coming up. So difficult for me to choose. They're all great. I would wear them all pretty much. But yeah, I'll definitely be buying the Seraphim Red for sure. So let's have a look and see what the notes were. So here we had pink pepper. Yeah, so it has got a slightly more peppery opening. Eucalyptus, which is what I thought it would be. I think that's what's giving it that kind of freshy, soapy kind of vibe. Aleppo pine, so I said it was more woody, more piney. And that hangs around. It hasn't got the highs that it has when it first opens, because it is quite piney when it first opens, but they sort of draw back a little bit, so you've just got a nice woody smell as it dries down. Marine, salty, red seaweed again, orange blossom again, ylang ylang, creamy sandalwood, lending more towards that woodsy vibe. We're missing out on the coconut by the look of things, which would give you more of that kind of uplifting, happy kind of day at the beach thing, and this is definitely more of an evening, dark, slightly more mysterious. And then we've got white musk, amber and gold vetiver, so there is vetiver in there, which is what I thought. It definitely reminded me a little of some of Tom Ford's more smoky kind of evening wear, which is really, really up my street, obviously up my wife's street as well. Yeah, absolutely love this. Great fragrance. Now we're on to another Seraphim. Maybe we're going even darker still. Seraphim Musk. And yeah, we are going darker still. In this one we're going so dark it's almost getting kind of leathery. The woods in here are a lot more dense, a lot darker. Maybe picking up some cardamom there. So it's a little more spicy, a little more woody, and it's got more depth to it, more musky, leathery. Yeah, this is kind of, if Seraphim Red was like a night out for me, this is kind of a night out for me, the Hells Angels version, you know, me in leather pants. But I mean, I would wear this. It's really good. I do like these heavier, darker scents. They're really right up my street. I like something a bit more powerful that kind of announces your presence. Let's have a smell of the strip that's been hanging around. And again, just like the red, this is very powerful still on the 48-hour strip. I'm not having to struggle to smell that at all. Dark, woody, leathery. I would say I'm kind of moving away from feeling like it's a marine fragrance now. Yeah, and again, this would be in my top 5 easily, maybe top 3. It's so hard to make a decision, but I would be very, very tempted to buy a bottle of this for sure. So let's have a look at the notes, see where we were at. We've got bergamot, pink pepper again, cardamom, so I was right on that one, cistus leaves, mugain, pink freesia, cypriol, dark ebony wood. So I said those woods were getting a lot more depth to them, and I would imagine that ebony wood smells a lot kind of deeper and darker than the previous woods we were looking at. And then black musk, which I'm guessing again is a little bit more heavier, leather, and black vanilla. Black vanilla, interesting. So yeah, it's definitely towards that darker side from the sound of the ingredients, and that's what I picked up. It's heavily musky, very, very sensual. You know, if you're into like sexy, passionate evening fragrances as a man, then this is right up your street. You know, if you're taking a lady out for dinner, she's gonna absolutely love this fragrance. I don't really think that this is that polarizing. It's a beautiful, beautiful evening fragrance. Now we have Seraphim Khus, which may be even darker still. I'm not sure you could get much darker than the Musk though, so that was absolutely awesome. I wouldn't say darker, I would say different. There's something kind of earthy about this one. I wouldn't say like mossy, definitely like an earthy, almost sort of like an earthy nutty vibe. I would guess this has some patchouli in there, maybe a little tonka in the background. It's got that kind of slight bassy sweetness to it. There's some kind of spices going on. I'm not sure if it's cardamom or something more. Leaning quite spicy, leaning a little more polarizing. I think this is definitely, you would have to smell it before you bought it, because I can imagine there would be some people that found this a little overpowering. Original strip, it's going to be absolutely banging as well. Yeah, and it's calmed down a lot on there. You know, you haven't got that, I want to say animalic, but that would be unfair. Just the musk is a little funkier on here, but certainly after 48 hours it's calmed down. And I did get my nose on this one a couple of times, and I did notice it was a little tamer than when first sprayed, which you're always going to find, you know, it's not unusual. I would get the Seraphim Musk and the Seraphim Khus, and I would like have a smell of both and choose which one you like, because they're both quite sort of heavy fragrances, powerful fragrances, that sort of more for the evening wear. High quality, definitely high quality. So I think you'll probably love one or the other. You may love both. I really like both, but my favourite actually is the Seraphim Musk so far, and also the Seraphim Red. I think they're very different fragrances, and I would happily buy those two. Let's have a look at the notes for Seraphim Khus, see if I was anywhere near. I'm hoping it's pronounced Khus. So we've got nutmeg, didn't get nutmeg. I did get cardamom. I said cardamom and it kind of smelt a little more than cardamom, so I'm guessing that was the nutmeg I could smell. Bergamot, Timur pepper, iris, magnolia. Interesting, I didn't get that. Black truffle. Now I wonder if that black truffle was that earthy, almost nutty smell that I could get. It was a really interesting smell, you know, it definitely got you thinking. Vanilla, Bushman candle. Now I've heard of that. I know that these guys went to great lengths to source Bushman candle from a sustainable area, but it's one of those things that I haven't had the opportunity to smell it on its own, so I find it really difficult to pick out exactly where I'm smelling that in a fragrance. I'm probably going to have to buy a sample of Bushman candle, because you can actually buy these things separately. You know, there's people that will sell these notes, these components, and you can buy them if you're a perfumer, but I'm more interested in buying them just to smell a small amount of them, and that way you can kind of get used to which notes are in which fragrance. You know, it helps you train your nose. Then we've got patchouli, as we saw last time, musk and tonka, which I was on the money on the tonka, so that's good. I think tonka's reasonably easy for me to pick out. The musk is pretty heavy duty in this one, and I've actually sprayed this and the Seraphim Blue and the musk on skin, and they all smelt great on skin. If anything, they stood out a little more. They projected really well. I'm guessing because on these things they tend to soak in. On skin, your skin's obviously got some warmth in it, you know, your body's got warmth, and that's pushing the fragrance out there. So I would love to buy these. I will definitely do that, because these are great fragrances. Now we're moving away from the Seraphims, and we've got a Signature XXXL. Now that's kind of reminded me of the original, like Pour Homme. It may be a more extreme version of that. I mean, it's strong and powerful, no doubt. Yeah, I'm definitely picking up that Pour Homme here. So I think it's the backbone of Pour Homme with some additions, making it a more powerful fragrance. I'm getting some oud, leather, vetiver, maybe some green herbs, cardamom, then some woods, musk for sure. Yeah, it's just a beefed up, spicier version of Pour Homme, which is really nice. I probably prefer this to Pour Homme, although for different reasons. You know, I could imagine wearing this out at night. Pour Homme for me is a great all-rounder. You know, that would be something I could wear in the office. This might be, if you worked in a small office, this could be a little much, because I definitely think this one will project and you know, it's a strong smell. It's got that kind of oody backbone to it, so there could easily be people that didn't like this if they were people with no taste. I think the oud's coming out even more actually in the older strip. Yeah, it's not messing around, and the musks as well. Really good, really good. I mean, this is a proper fragrance, you know, if you're into your niche and you're into decent quality ingredients, then you're going to be really happy with this. The difference being that as you get into those really high quality ingredients and the ability to kind of pick these things out, you are always going to sacrifice some of the mass appeal, because mass appeal is kind of 1D fragrances, you know, freshies that kind of are okay, that everyone kind of likes. They're never going to be something that everyone absolutely falls head over heels with. They're just things that are generally okay. And this is really, really good, really awesome for people like me, but I know that there will be other people that smell it and go, oh no, it's too much, you know, it overpowers them. So let's have a look at the notes here. We've got apple, basil, black pepper, rosemary. So yeah, I said, you know, there's some more herbs in it than I thought, for sure. Cardamom, fir balsam, so it's woody. Birch, again woody. Oud, Indonesian oud. It's probably that oud that's driving the kind of slightly more polarizing factor to this. I love oud, so for me it's not a problem, but for some people it could be. Cashmere woods, olibanum, leather accord, so yeah, we picked up leather. Patchouli, I think I mentioned. Musk, vetiver I mentioned, and ambramone, which I'll have to look up. Not exactly sure what that is, maybe something to do with amber, but yeah, this is definitely leaning towards the kind of powerful, heavy duty, leathery, musky, oody side of things. So if that's you, then give this a smell for sure. If you're not that person, you know, you like a very sort of nice, pleasant, fresh, woodsy scent, then this may not be up your street. So now we're down to second to last, and this is from the Basileus collection. I hope I pronounced that correctly as well. This is Precious Treasure. Now this smells interesting, very interesting. My first thoughts are like clean satin sheets, clean skin as well, like really clean skin. Paper, like fresh paper. There's a kind of age to it too, almost like a really posh book, you know, that's been kept in very good condition, but it's got that agey kind of vibe to it as well in the paper. So it's clean, it's sterile, but it's got that sort of paper age. You know, it's hard to explain. So far, this is the most difficult for me to explain, but probably the most interesting. So I think I'm picking up some florals. I just don't know which notes I can kind of put together to make those smells. I think there's probably some like mossy tones in the background. Then I've got some woods coming through. We've got florals, woods, but those other smells, I don't know what makes them up, but I'm definitely getting like beautifully kept library with a very clean skinned librarian. You know, like, it's bizarre, but it's nice. I mean, it's not unpleasant. It's just that's the memories it conjures up in my head. I've purposely avoided like reading up on these because I know on the Zaharoff site each one's got its kind of story and background and you can see what inspired it, but I didn't want to do that because then it's going to kind of force me to think about them in a certain way. I just wanted to give my initial impressions, and maybe when I deep dive on a couple that I really end up buying, that I'll kind of look more into what they say on the site. But yeah, it's made it really difficult for me to kind of give you a definitive list that I can be at all sure on that one. So let's have a look at what we've got here. We've got cardamom, which I didn't even get cardamom. Timur pepper jungle essence from Nepal. Sichuan pepper, star jasmine, wild freesia, blonde cedar. So I did get some woods. Sustainable bushman candle again. So that, you know, I really have to kind of train myself to know where that is. Olibanum tears, tonka, oak moss. So I did pick up that mossy smell in the background. Skin musk. Now that's interesting because I said several times, really clean skin, you know, and that's a strange thing to smell, but you know when you smell like a freshly washed, like baby skin or something, and it has that amazing smell to it, it's nice, you know, it's not a bad smell, but it just sounds strange to say it in terms of fragrance. Upcycled Orchinox, I have no idea what that is. That sounds crazy. I have no idea what it is at all. Sustainable Vanilla Bourbon, Ebony Wood, so again we've got that kind of dark, deep wood smell going on, and Sandalwood. Yeah, I really think you guys need to smell this. It's, if anything, just buy one of these small sizes just to have this on hand as like an interesting thing to smell. You may choose that, oh, I don't want to go out smelling like that, that's fine, but it's worth it just to smell the kind of strange combination that they've got there. I don't know, I'm going to try some on skin because I don't know if I would go out wearing this or not. And I'm interested to see how that skin musk performs on skin as well. Now on my skin it's actually slightly more floral. The skin musk also seems more of an enhanced smell now, and it's kind of blending in nicely with the florals and smelling a little more oriental than it was on the strip. It's really good. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a massive projector. It's something that maybe is a little more intimate, so maybe a good choice for a date night even, you know, because it does smell good on the skin. And most of all, it's intriguing. You know, I mean, if you're on a date night, you probably want A, the person to be coming up close to smell you, and B, to be intrigued by the smell, right? Seems like a winning combination. But yeah, that's one that I can tell I would have to spend some time with. I'm intrigued enough that I will keep trying it, keep smelling it, and I think it just needs a little time. You know, you kind of know that you're probably going to like something or maybe even love something, but you just need to kind of work your head around it first. And then we got the last one, and this one is in competition for my favourite. It's in competition with Seraphim Red, and also, to be honest, Seraphim Musk. You know, I'm a sucker for all of those. But, and even, well, the Tabac and the Rose combo as well on them. So many. The Tabac on its own. Tabac leather, you know, I should stop because there's too many good ones. It's almost cruel to smell all these because there's so many good fragrances here. Yeah, this is one of my favourites of all, and I think this is the latest release. It's called the Oracle. So I'm getting some spices, some citrus, quite a lemon or a limey type citrus. I've got incense, woods, tonka maybe, patchouli, musky background. Definitely musky. I'm not picking up oud. Just smell the older strip. Again, this lasts really well, and I've no doubt this will project like anything. Yeah, probably more musk leading on the strip, but really good. I would say this is like a strong evening fragrance, or just if you're a powerful character, you know, this could be a signature fragrance. I absolutely love this. It's, like I say, it's in the lead with Seraphim Red and Seraphim Musk. Those are the three I particularly like. It's absolutely fantastic. This, I would easily wear this anywhere. You know, I'm not particularly someone that has like seasons. I don't have times of day. If I put a fragrance on for a day, that's what I'm wearing that day. I might take a little extra out with me to reapply if I've got an evening business dinner or something. But in general, you know, I don't mess around day to day. I just wear the fragrance I'm wearing, and I wear what I like. You know, I'm not too bothered. If it was mega hot, that might influence me slightly, but this one I would wear anytime. And I think it's just different enough. You know, there's something about it that's intriguing as well. It's got that sexy evening vibe, but there's something about it that's just really intriguing. It's almost like a old artifact type of thing. It's definitely got that sense of age in there, maybe like mystery, and it's got that kind of incensey, mysterious kind of stuff going on, which, you know, that's sexy, right? You know, the mysterious part is kind of what we like. Let's have a look at the notes on that one. So we got pink pepper, bergamot, lemon heart nutmeg. Interesting one. Now I thought I could smell some citrusy, limey, lemony stuff in the background. I wonder if that was what I could smell, because it didn't smell quite like fresh lemons, but it definitely had that sort of citrusy lean to it. Cinnamon bark, mugain, cypriol, incense, which, yeah, we were picking up some really nice incense, olibanum, ambergris. So didn't get that, but yeah, that makes sense. Probably leading to that kind of sense of like age, you know, that mineralic kind of aged type of effect, just giving you that extra level of intrigue. Cedarwood, orchinox, which again I don't know what that is, santamanol, again a new one to me, tonka, which I think I've got, benzoin, patchouli, and musk. We definitely got the musk, you know, I said it smells musky. So my favourites on there were the Seraphim Red, the Oracle, and the Seraphim Musk. I also really like the Tabac mixed with the rose. I like the leather Tabac. There were so many of these that I enjoyed. Obviously I like pretty much all of the Royal series, and going into the XXX and XXXL, I enjoyed those because they're a little more potent, a little more beefy, you know, in your face, powerful. I enjoyed them all. I loved the Extreme. Let's just look, I really like them all. I'm going to buy for sure the Seraphim Red, and I'm going to buy for sure the Oracle as full bottles, just to get some decent wear out of them. And I will no doubt bring you a review of those two when I do. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a marathon. Obviously it's a long video, so if you stayed till the end, thank you very much. I hope this encourages you to go and buy one of these kits yourself from Luxe Parfum in the UK or on the Zaharoff site, and then you can just go through and find exactly which things you want to buy from these guys without doing blind buys like I do, and kind of taking crazy risks, you know, because some of these, most of them are not, but there are a couple here that would definitely be polarizing. So depending on your skin, how you perceive smell, they're going to be something you need to make sure you like, you know, because that's the main thing, that you like your fragrance. Never mind anyone else. I don't care if the masses appreciate my fragrance. I just want to smell good. I want to smell good when I smell myself. If I smell good, then I'm confident, I'm happy, you know, and that has a positive effect on me. So that's the main thing I want to do. If I wanted to please the crowds, I would just wear Bleu de Chanel or Sauvage, but yeah, not my vibe at all. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be making some more videos this week, so please keep subscribing. Thank you so much to everyone who's already subscribed. Thank you so much to Zaharoff for supporting a tiny little channel like this one. I really appreciate it. Thanks to Bloom the other day for inviting me along. We've got another video coming showing some less controversial perfumes at Bloom as well. And I've got a whole bunch of other videos in the making. So stay tuned, plenty more to come. Thank you so much. I'll catch you next time.